I was first attracted to the Salem witch trials of 1692 when my husband and I moved from Cambridge, Massachusetts up to Marblehead, Massachusetts. Marblehead has one of the, if not the largest collection of 18th century houses all together that are still extant in the United States, and we were living in that area in Marblehead, which is called Old Town. And one thing that's interesting about New England is that it's very backward looking, which I think is unusual for an American city or for an American region. And Marblehead is one town over from Salem. So in all my time that I would spend wandering between Marblehead and Salem, the past was just stalking the streets everywhere that you turned. And so I started thinking about, since I was living in an old house myself, our house was built in 1705, the place where we were living when we first moved there, I started thinking about how it actually felt to live in that time period. You know, were the clothes itchy? Was it hot when you were cooking in the kitchen? All these sort of little details that history, the way we study history, tends to leave out. And of course, Salem today draws a lot of its tourist attention and money from capitalizing on the Salem witch trials, and so you can't go anywhere without running into a witch trials themed trolley tour or witch trials themed gift shop or people in witch hats. It just smacks you in the face wherever you go. And I was sort of moved by the fact that in all of this sort of obsession with history in Essex County in Massachusetts, the stories of the individuals who were involved in that story, individual people, seemed to be lost. And so one thing I started to do was to try to kind of do a thought experiment to see not only if I could restore some of this lost individuality, albeit fictional, I must hasten to add. I was interested in looking at the people who were caught up in this crisis as individuals and as particular people. And another approach that I wanted to take to the story of the Salem witch crisis is whenever we talk about the Salem witch crisis, we talk about it as a proxy for something else. Either the girls were all panicking and freaking out because they'd eaten moldy bread and they were hallucinating, or the witch crisis was really about religious conflict, or it was really about gender conflict. We always talk about it as though it's a substitute for something else. But one thing that I think is lost in that story is that for the people who were involved in the Salem witch crisis, the accusers, who were teenage girls, the accused, who were mostly middle-aged women, but some men as well, the judges, the jury, the theologians who advised the proceedings, the townsfolk, the people who were observers, for every one of those people, they all actually believed that the trial was about witchcraft. For them, it was absolutely real. There was no sense of witchcraft as a proxy or stand-in for something else. So while I was living in Marblehead, I was starting to imagine not only how it felt to live in this time period, but also if magic were real, the way that the colonists understood it to be, what would that look like? And how would that look different from the way that we typically encounter witchcraft in fiction or in stories today? And so that was the thought experiment that kind of got me started on building a story about these women.